Hi everybody, Kevin here with Sticks and Stones, and today we're going to make a little Santa Claus on this mini rolling pin. What I did was I took the bottom piece off and I started cutting a hairline in with my sanding drum and my Dremel here because this is pretty hard maple and I think that's going to work the best. So I'm just going to make a stop cut here, something to start a hairline with, and that'll be the bottom of his hat, and below that we'll put the face on. So I find it's easier to use the sanding drum to shape a face here right in the beginning because this stuff's pretty hard, and most of the tools I'm going to use are probably going to leave burn marks because this is so hard, and it's pretty small, so it's going to be kind of tough to get the big old cuttle discs out and burrs and get the effect that I want. So I'm going to be using some other tools like the sanding drum here and some small Dremel tools. I will get some cuttles out though. Right here I'm just separating some eyebrows. Believe it or not, the sanding disc will probably work a lot better to take the wood off than some of the Dremel tools. It's pretty small. I guess it's about maybe 4 or 5 inches. I don't even know how big it is. I'll have to measure it to be exact without the bottom handle. But I like making them like this because then I can stand them up and they make nice little Christmas gifts and stocking stuffers. So I'm just pulling the wood down with the sanding disc to start shaping that nose, taking wood out on either side. And I'll clean them up a little bit and see if I can get the cheeks and the mustache and stuff in with it. And that ought to work. I'll just keep shaping around with my sanding drum for a minute. You guys can watch and see how that sanding drum does really cut this wood in. And this is tough stuff. Again, it's pretty hard. As long as I can get a decent little shape of a face, I can work with it. This is more of a watching tutorial, but you will get the idea of how easy it is to make a little face, and then hopefully the tips in this video will increase your knowledge about different ways you can carve things and different tools you can use. The sanding drum, what's the advantage of using that is when you do clean these off, you can get a really smooth finish. After you shape out your carving, you could just run right over it with the sanding drum and sand it, you know. So it gets a lot of that jagged stuff out when you're carving and eliminates the need for a lot of sanding when you're actually done carving. They clean up pretty quick when you're done making them with a sanding drum. Shaping the mustache in there now. It's a little uneven, so I'll have to fix it. I'm just lightly going around, trying to straighten it out on this side here. So it wasn't long enough, so I had to cut it down, and I'll pull that wood down on the top and even it out. So right here. In the beginning, when I first started carving, I did a lot of stuff with just a sanding drum. You do have to watch. When they start fraying, that's the time to change them, because they do pop. And when they pop, they usually fly away from you, but put a pair of glasses on. Definitely safety glasses. And be aware if it starts fraying. A lot of times they get loose, and then you start scraping the rubber. And your sanding disc starts moving up and down on the actual pad. So just be careful and go slow, and it'll handle most things. You'll know when it's getting time to change your sanding drum when it starts fraying or getting loose. You'll see it burning a lot, don't worry about that. I'm starting to get a little face in there. After I shape most of the rough parts that I want to rough in with the sanding drum, then I'll get the Dremel tools out and I'll start using some little fluted balls and carbide cutters to get the rest of the detail in. And I like to really get most of the shape that I'm looking for and go right to a very little cone bit, which I'll show you later, which puts most of my details in after I have the basic form that I'm looking for. Right here I'm switching to a little diamond ball. And I'm just cleaning up. Trying to get some of them burn marks off and make sure that I get the face in the shape that I want before I go to any heavier bits. Eventually I get tired of using the diamond because it's not doing too much and I switch bits here. But it serves its purpose to make sure everything's where I want it to be and no rough spots. But to carve it down deeper, I'm definitely going to have to get some more aggressive bits. Now we're moving to a fluted ball here from Dremel. Just a little bigger, a little more aggressive than a diamond. Let's see if we can take a little bit more wood down here. Boy, this thing is hard. But in the tight spots like up here by the eyes and going under the eyelids, stuff like that, I don't want to take out too much wood anyway. So I'm kind of being careful in the beginning because this is a small piece, so I'm using the small stuff first and seeing what it'll take and how much I need to actually get a little bit more bullyish on it if I have to. If it's not going to give me what I want, then I'll switch bits again. But while it's in my hand, I'm going to do what I can with it. Clean up the little spots before I move to a bigger cutter. Making sure that mustache is shaped nice. And getting ready for my next steps. Trying to get some of the burn off too. Sometimes you gotta be dainty with little stuff. If this is a big rolling pin, I would have had to cut some burrs out really fast and just zipped right through it. Which I have done on these too, but there's not much room to hold. And some of the cutters are so big, you know, it just takes way too much off than what I'm going for. Doesn't look too bad. I'll get another bit out and see what else we can do here. Alright, up here around the head, the eyes, we're going to have to get something going with the beard here. So now I'm even going bigger. And I have another fluted ball, only this one's a lot more aggressive. And I should be able to take some wood down and actually start scratching some beard hair in with this thing and the lip. The nice thing about this is it's going to burn, and when I make a mouth here, I think I'm going to do an open mouth Santa, and this will give me an idea, because the way it burns when I push hard, about the shape of the mouth that I'm going to do, I'll be able to see it with the burn and actually imagine it in my head better. So you'll see as I go, how I start forming the teeth in the mouth. I'm going to leave a piece of wood and go underneath it and try to dig some wood out there, and that's going to be the inside of his mouth directly under that. You can actually see it with the burn there, what it's going to look like already. And I can start scratching a beard in a little at a time here. And that'll be the beginning of where I put my beard. Yeah, he's starting to shape up. Now it's time to go to a kutzel burr. Now this one right here is pretty dull. It's seen its better days. This is a small one. It's not the extreme, but this will work fine for hollowing out underneath those teeth and cleaning up some other spots that I need to get a little bit more aggressive with. And I'll be able to really do a lot of carving with this, as opposed to the other burrs that I started him with. But now I know what I want. I know where he's going to be on the rolling pin, and I can start cutting him in a little bit more with this burr. Get some of that varnish off. Let's start working that mouth there. And give him a nice open smiley mouth on this guy. And we'll start some lip right here. And take the wood out underneath it and then dig inside. And in the corners really dark, I'm going deep there in the back corners of the mouth. And again, starting to cut beard hair in. Now this will all come together when I get the little cone bit out, you'll see. Because there's really not much to these guys. I know it seems slow, but that's because I'm using these little bits and I'm not really pushing it too hard. See the mouth right there? Up in here needs a little bit more work. Now I'm going to get the kutzel taper burr, and this right here will really help me put all the rest of the deep cuts in and take the wood off where I really need it. This is an extremely aggressive burr, and it'll handle this rolling pin no problem. So now I can pretty much hone and refine the whole rest of the carving with this. And I shouldn't have to do much more cutting after this, except putting detail work on. Can even get them teeth and underneath the mustache. And I'm going to really dig into the corners of the mouth here and hollow it out a little bit on the inside. Now I can finish up some lines in that beard too with this bit. I probably could have done the whole thing with that burr, this burr here, but that's okay. Better safe than sorry. I like to take things slow and know exactly what I want as I'm going. If it doesn't work out, it's rare for me because I usually start a little bit slow. Other times I just like to speed carve and just whack things out, you know, but this is a little thing. Wanted to show you guys, you know, nice and slow so you get a good idea. Now I'm just sanding him up. He's ready for detail. And we're going to paint this guy too in this video. This is the cone-shaped burr I was telling you about from Dremel. It's a very small cone shape, alright? 1/8 inch shank. Great little burr. I do a lot of detail work on little mini stuff like this with this burr. Where do you see how this burns as it cuts, which is great for detail. And once I go over the whole carving with this, he's pretty much going to be finished as far as all the carving and everything goes. And then it's just going to be time to paint him up. But you'll see when he's all done. I mean, I'll put the nose, the eyes, everything in with this bit here. It's a great little burr. I can even do the teeth with it. All the detail work. I'm pushing pretty hard here too. So this rolling pin's very hard. Okay, they're like concrete, some of these things. And the little ones sometimes are real bad. Worse than the big ones. I mean, I've done some big ones in 5 minutes with, Quetzal Extreme burrs and saber-tooth burrs. But when you're using Dremel tools and smaller stuff, you can get some pretty fine detail too, so don't knock those. You should have some of them in your box also, like this little cone bit. I highly recommend. I use this thing a lot. And watch the little eyes and stuff I can get on with this bit. I mean, he's not a super serious carving, but you can get some pretty good detail with it. Hey, he's starting to look like somebody. Just going around giving him all the little lines and wrinkles and doing his eyes, making sure that his cheeks are cut in good, making sure his teeth are separated. I use this bit for everything, once I have the main shape of the Santa. I mean, I could pretty much sand him up and just call him done there, But it is a Christmas video, so we're going to paint him too. Now this right here, his lines in the beard I didn't use the cone bit for, so I'm going to clean up the forehead a little bit and some other parts with this carbide cutter here. And this right here is another Dremel cutter. But I'll be able to deepen the lines in the beard and clean up around the forehead and down the sides here. Because I want him to have a little bit more depth in his beard lines, because we are going to paint him and we want to be able to see those and not cover them totally with paint. So this also helps cut the cheeks in a little better and take some wood off in spots where I want to get a little bit deeper. Not doing too much with it, but just accenting the lines that are already cut, refining them, and make them a little bit deeper so when I do paint them, they just don't disappear. There you go. Okay. See, I think he's ready to be sanded and painted. I'll give him a quick sand. Got a little piece of 220 here. I'm not really using anything aggressive. And this is just basic gloss acrylic red. And we're going to throw a coat of paint on that. I'm not going to put any stars or anything fancy on him. A lot of times I really paint them up and I make them all fancy, and I have little stars, and sometimes I paint moons and stuff on my Santas. It depends. But since this is just a little tutorial, we're just going to paint up his pin red. We're going to make his face almond color. And then we're going to blush his cheeks and everything and put some white on for his hat and his beard. Hey, don't look too bad. He'll be cute. Let's get another color here. Here's that almond color I was telling you about. I usually use that for the face because I can blend any kind of color on top of it that I want to get the effect I'm looking for. So I'll give him a coat of that. And these are just basic craft paints, acrylics. This isn't exactly a flesh color, but when you add a little bit of red to it, you can get a pretty good blush look. And you can do his face, his nose, his cheeks, and his mouth with it, his lips. There you go, that's what that looks like. Let's give him a little bit of white. And this is just it's a really bright white, but I tend to tone it down with some black at the end of my paint jobs. I usually go around with black and I do a little bit of shading. It's almost like antiquing. If I don't show it in this video, that's all I did was I added some black and blended it in around them. Just doing the paint job quick here to get the effect of a Santa. Alright, now I'm going to do a double load on the brush. I'm going to put some almond on one side and white on the other, and I blend them together so it makes the fur on his hat just a slightly different color than his beard. I'm using a technique where I'm just kind of stippling back and forth and blending it as I go, which gives it the kind of appearance of fur just above his head there. So that would be his hat and the fur on it. And this is what I ended up with after I added some black for shading. And that's our little Santa. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.